Hello everyone, and welcome back to another mind-bending episode. Today we're going to dive into one of the creepiest what-if scenarios you can imagine. What if spiders were the size of humans? Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more exciting videos with even crazier ideas. Now, spiders are already some of the most fascinating and feared creatures on our planet. With over 45,000 known species, they've mastered survival in almost every environment, from forests and deserts to caves and even inside our homes. But what if they weren't tiny creatures we could squash with a shoe, but instead stood eye to eye with us, towering at human height, with legs stretching several feet long? The world as we know it would change forever. First of all, let's talk about size and biology. Spiders rely on something called an exoskeleton, a hard outer shell that protects their body and supports their muscles. But there's a catch. Exoskeletons don't scale up well. If spiders grew to human size, their bodies would become incredibly heavy, and their thin legs might not be able to support them. They would probably collapse under their own weight, unless evolution gave them stronger structures, thicker legs, and a way to breathe more efficiently. Because here's another problem. Spiders don't have lungs like us. Most breathe through small openings called book lungs or tracheae. At human size, they'd need much more oxygen than those tiny organs could handle. To survive, giant spiders would have to evolve new ways of breathing, maybe something closer to our lungs. But if those challenges were somehow solved, and spiders really did grow to our size, the consequences for ecosystems, and for us humans, would be enormous. If human-sized spiders actually existed, their hunting abilities would become terrifying. Most spiders are predators, using venom to paralyze or kill their prey. Imagine venom glands scaled up to human proportions. A single bite could inject enough toxins to knock down a full-grown animal or even a person. Some species, like the Brazilian wandering spider or the black widow, already have venom powerful enough to kill or severely harm humans. At giant size, these toxins would be unstoppable. And then there's their most iconic weapon, webs. Spider silk is already one of the strongest natural materials known, stronger than steel when compared by weight. A spider the size of a human could produce silk thick as ropes, strong enough to trap not just flies, but birds, deer, or even a person. Whole forests could be draped in sticky traps, and venturing outside might mean risking getting caught in a web you couldn't break free from. Now think about their hunting strategy. Many spiders ambush their prey, hiding in the shadows until the perfect moment. Others chase and pounce with lightning speed. At human size, a spider could sprint almost as fast as a person, leap several meters into the air, and attack with powerful fangs. Imagine walking through your neighborhood and suddenly realizing a massive spider is watching from a rooftop. For humans, the fear factor alone would reshape society. We'd need protective gear just to step outdoors. Cities would probably build spider-proof walls or dome-like structures. Farmers and villagers in rural areas might find themselves competing directly with giant spiders for territory and food. But here's the twist. Not all giant spiders would necessarily attack us. Some species feed only on insects. Still, with their size, they'd need much larger meals, which means even the friendly ones would likely turn to animals or livestock for food. If spiders were human-sized, our entire ecosystem would shift dramatically. Spiders are already crucial for controlling insect populations, eating millions of pests every day. But scaled up, their appetite would multiply. Instead of insects, they might target larger prey, chickens, dogs, even cattle. Farms could face devastation overnight, and ecosystems would collapse as food chains were rewritten. Humans would have to respond fast. Cities might develop giant traps, fortified fences, or even laser defense systems to keep spiders out. Just as we once built walls to keep out predators like wolves or lions, entire regions might construct spider-proof barriers. Transportation would also change. Walking or biking through rural areas could be deadly. Cars, armored suits, and enclosed tunnels would become the safest way to move between places. Even air travel might be adapted, since giant spiders could climb skyscrapers or spin webs across tall bridges, turning them into deadly traps. But beyond survival, imagine the cultural impact. Fear of spiders, arachnophobia, is already one of the most common human phobias. With real, giant spiders roaming the world, this fear could dominate art, religion, and daily life. Entire mythologies could rise around them, painting them as monsters or even gods. Some communities might even worship them, hoping to avoid attacks. At the same time, scientists would see opportunity. Spider silk scaled up could revolutionize technology. Imagine ropes, cables, and fabric stronger than anything we currently make, harvested from massive spiders. Entire industries might form around farming, controlling, or even genetically engineering these creatures. Humanity might learn to domesticate some of them, turning enemies into allies, perhaps even riding spiders like giant horses in some futuristic scenario. If human-sized spiders roamed the earth, they wouldn't just reshape nature. They would completely alter human society and politics. Nations would be forced to cooperate in ways we've never seen before, because no single country could deal with such a massive threat alone. Imagine international alliances not built on trade or diplomacy, but on spider defense. Global summits could revolve around sharing technologies, weapons, and safe zones. Military forces would change too. Armies would no longer just fight other armies, they would also need to fight spider swarms. Specialized units might be trained to hunt or trap giant arachnids, armed with flamethrowers, sonic devices, or even robotic exoskeletons designed to withstand spider fangs and silk. Wars between humans could even pause, as survival against the spiders becomes the higher priority. Economically, the world would face chaos and innovation at the same time. Agriculture would be one of the hardest-hit sectors, since giant spiders could devastate crops and livestock. But industries focusing on defense, construction, and bioresearch would thrive. People might even pay fortunes to live in spider-free zones, creating a divide between wealthy protected cities and vulnerable rural areas. Culturally, humanity would split into two paths. Some would view spiders only as a nightmare to be destroyed, while others would try to understand and coexist with them. Could we find ways to live side by side? Or would every attempt end in disaster? And finally, think about the psychological impact. Humanity has always been dominant on Earth, but if spiders grew to our size, we would no longer be at the top of the food chain. Fear would become part of daily life, a constant reminder that the world is no longer ours alone. So, could humanity actually survive in a world where spiders were the size of humans? The answer isn't simple. On one hand, we have intelligence, technology, and the ability to adapt faster than almost any species on Earth. With enough innovation, humans could build safe zones, create advanced defenses, and maybe even learn to turn spider silk or biology into resources for our own survival. But on the other hand, spiders that large would be nearly unstoppable in the wild. Their speed, strength, and silk would make them predators unlike anything we've ever faced. Forests, cities, and oceans could all become hunting grounds. Humanity would have to give up its place as the absolute rulers of the planet. In the end, the survival of humans would depend on two things: cooperation, and adaptation. If nations worked together and technology advanced fast enough, there's a chance we could hold our ground. But if we remain divided, the Earth might slowly become a world where spiders, not humans, sit at the top of the food chain. So, the next time you see a spider in the corner of your room, be glad it's small. Because if it were your size, the balance of life on Earth would look very, very different.